Hi, everyone. Josh Rugger here in studio. And man, is it going to be a wild weather week here in Northwest Arkansas and especially the River Valley. We've got heavy rain potential coming up tomorrow, and then we get weather whiplash as we head towards the weekend as fall is arriving on our doorstep, and we're going to see much cooler temperatures over the weekend. In fact, some might say these temperatures are downright bitterly cold. So, we'll talk about all of that and more in this latest weather live stream. Hope everybody's having a terrific Tuesday so far. It's been a good one here in studio, and it's going to be a busy one in the weather lab tomorrow for sure. So let's go ahead and take a look at satellite radar. And one thing you will notice if you've been watching the shows over the last several days is there is a lot more cloud cover in place right now. And if we take a wider view here, we can show you exactly why that is. We've got a ridge of high pressure off to our east. That's been dominating our weather pattern really over the last couple of weeks. And now, as it shifts to the east, that's going to set the stage for this cold front to push through the area and really drop our temperatures. I mean, we're talking about a 30 to 40 degree drop in some locations in terms of the highs, the lows. So it is definitely going to be a big time fall cold front. You can already see a ton of energy swinging in off the desert southwest. Now, the good news is with this particular season, system, we aren't going to see a whole lot of severe weather potential. So severe weather risk, I think, is going to remain to our south and west, but we are going to see quite a bit of heavy rainfall, and there's no doubt about it. Most of us are going to see quite a bit of rain in some form or fashion, but many could see a flash flooding risk. In fact, if we look at that excessive rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, you can already see that the entire KNWA Fox 24 coverage area is under a level 2 out of 4 slight risk for excessive rainfall. So that means scattered flash flooding will be possible. And I do think the heaviest rain is going to be along and south of Interstate 40. But if that system knows it's a little bit farther north, Northwest Arkansas could also get in on the action for significant rainfall totals. And again, there is some model discrepancies in terms of what exactly is going to go down, how the system's going to evolve. There always is with systems like this, but there is the potential for multiple rounds of very heavy rain as well as thunderstorm activity, especially in the River Valley. I think there's no doubt about it. The River Valley is going to see some very heavy rainfall. So let's take a look at some of these computer models. We're just going to go through all of them that we've got in-house right now. This is the graph model, which I think actually has a pretty good grasp of what exactly is going to go down. It might be a little bit too quick in terms of taking the rainfall out of the area, but still a pretty good idea of things. And you can see, again, rain really starting to ramp up after the morning commute. I still think there's the potential for a few isolated to scattered showers between about 5 to 8 o'clock a.m. before things really start to get out of hand. So if you are heading out and about to work and school tomorrow, make sure you're leaving a little bit earlier just in case the system arrives earlier, right? Because the trends have been towards those showers and storms starting to crank up during the early morning hours. You can already see that in Northwest Arkansas right around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, notice with this first round of showers and storms, we got a bit of a break in the activity in a lot of locations. And this could limit the flash flooding potential quite a bit. But look at that. This model is already starting to build in all that rain during the afternoon as well. So this is why we've got to watch the flash flooding risk very closely. I also wouldn't be surprised if one or two of these storms were capable of producing some localized hail, maybe some gusty winds up to 40 miles per hour. Again, the severe weather threat is mainly going to be to our south and west, but still with these initial thunderstorms, it could tap into a little bit of instability that's in place and maybe produce some small hail and wind. But the tornado threat, non-existent with this particular system, and widespread severe weather is not expected, not even implying that at all here. But the heavy rainfall threat is very real, and you can see that especially in the River Valley. Now notice how the graph wants to take everything out at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. I think that's a little bit too early. I think the HRRR has a better grasp on that. That's why we're going to be talking about each of these systems. But I do think that the heavy rainfall threat is mainly going to be in the River Valley with this system. But Northwest Arkansas is also going to see some locally heavy rainfall. So that was just one model solution from the graph, which again tends to be a little bit more conservative. But I do think it has a pretty good idea of bringing in those showers and storms early Wednesday morning and continuing that throughout the afternoon hours. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the HRRR. This is the latest HRRR. And again, it wants to show scattered development today. That's not going to happen. That's likely just cloud debris that's showing up on the model. But there's the clouds increasing overnight tonight. Now, it doesn't have the showers really moving in all that early. I don't know if I necessarily buy that. I think there's too much energy for us to not get any rain at all between about 5 to 8 o'clock in the morning, but we'll still watch those trends very closely. But notice all that development that's going on out west. Now, look how things start to fill in throughout the afternoon. Multiple clusters of showers and storms possible, and could have some very heavy rainfall by the time you're heading back to work tomorrow. So, I got a question for Margie right here. Yeah, this is exactly lining up with what you're talking about, Margie. I do think there is the potential for quite a bit of heavy rainfall activity between 1430 and 2100, or not 2000, 2000, because again, there is going to be the threat for training thunderstorms in a lot of locations, and that could add to that heavy rainfall risk. Notice how Northwest Arkansas also centered in that as well. I'm going to move your comment here, but I'm talking about it. Um, Northwest Arkansas right in the center of that as well. So it does make sense why that excessive rainfall is included over Northwest Arkansas in terms of that WPC outlook. But again, I think the River Valley is going to be in that bullseye for the main shower and storm activity. Notice how that rain, at least according to the HRRR, continues throughout the overnight hours. Now, again, I think it's a little bit too quick in terms of taking it out, but I do think the majority of the shower and storm activity is going to be out of the area by the time we get to Thursday morning between 8 to 9 o'clock. Dan and I were just talking about that. I do think the models are a little bit too quick, but I don't think Thursday is going to be a complete washout. And most of the models agree with that. Yeah, thanks, I think. Yeah, and Margie, here's the thing. There's always going to be silver linings to everything. This rain is really going to help out the fall foliage, and this cold front pushing through is going to accelerate those leaves changing, because we're going to talk about the cool down in just a minute. But this is definitely going to be beneficial rainfall. Hopefully, we don't see too much in terms of that flash flooding potential. Again, I think areas along and south of Interstate 40 really need to be keeping an eye on the forecast, especially as you're heading back home from work. Again, if we go back here and go to about 4 or 5 o'clock, look at all that. Look at all that shower and storm activity moving along the I-49 corridor, and I do buy that. I do think that's going to be the case, so we'll have to watch those trends very closely here in Northwest Arkansas. The sky in Joplin sure it looks like rain is on the way. Well, Roby, it certainly does outside right now. That is for sure in a lot of areas in Northwest Arkansas. This morning, I was just mentioning that on the show. Fortunately, we're very dry right now. We're also going to get pretty warm this afternoon. So I don't think there's going to be too much in the way of showers. If there's anything that falls, Roby, it's going to be in sprinkles or drizzle. But widespread rain, I don't think it's going to be a factor at all. And again, it's going to be very hard to squeak out any shower activity during the daytime hour. Margie, I told my Odyssey 2 years ago when a flash flood happens. And Margie, here's something I'm going to tell you, because I actually got into an accident myself back a couple years ago. Actually, it was it was 2021, and it was from hydroplaning. And I've kind of remember that experience very well. It's very scary. You don't want to get caught up in that, and that's why we're talking about that evening commute tomorrow. I know you just mentioned that in your comment. It could be pretty hazardous. It could be very slick outside, especially with that initial shot of shower and storm activity. That oil mixes in with the rain, causes those roadways to be very slick. Rain can be just as dangerous, folks, as snow, as ice, if you're not careful, And me personally, I got caught in it because I was driving too fast in the rain. And Margie, you just mentioned you got hit with the wall of water. Again, that flash flooding, it can really build up on the roadways. That ponding, especially on I-49, it's a big issue. So I definitely can sympathize with that, Margie. And now that I have that experience too, with me personally going too fast. I've kind of been a little bit more cautious when it comes to driving on the roadways, but definitely something that can be highly impactful. And we'll have to watch it very closely, because I do think there's going to be definite ponding on the interstates after 6 o'clock p.m. So if you're out and about, just make sure you're being very careful there on the roadways. But again, those showers and storms will continue during the overnight hours, training thunderstorms in the River Valley with that flash flooding risk. And I think most of it is going to be out by lunchtime on Thursday. Let's go ahead and look at some of the rainfall totals these models are pumping out again. They're going to be all over the place. Some are going to have more than others. Now, you notice with each of these models, they do have a definitive bullseye. Now, the graph, has a bullseye, a swath of rain over far northwest Arkansas, as well as in the River Valley. If we do have a solution where these showers or storms kind of become a cluster, kind of become a complex, that piece of energy is a little bit farther north, there is a scenario where portions of northwest Arkansas could see a little over 2 inches of rain. Now, I think this is a little bit overdone still. I think most areas are going to see between 1 to 2 inches of rain, with 3 to 4 inches possible in the river valley, with perhaps locally higher amounts. That's what my way of thinking right now. But the models have uptrended a little bit in terms of the rainfall totals. Now, this is a European model. This is a bit of a lower resolution model, so it can't pick up on those finer details like the graph or the HRRR, which we just showed you, which are high resolution models. But it does have that bullseye of heavier rainfall in the river valley, which I do agree with. I think the most of the rain is going to be in the river valley, where 1 to 3 inches will be pretty common, with locally higher amounts once again. Here's the GFS. Now, it's got the bullseye a little bit farther north. Again, this is another low resolution model, but it does have that bullseye of rain going through northwest Arkansas. Certainly could see that happening if that piece of energy is a little bit farther north. And that's why we look at water vapor. That's why we show it on air, because we're literally looking out the window and just trying to pick apart where exactly those pieces of energy are going to set up. And right now, I think it's going to be more towards the river valley, but some models do have it over northwest Arkansas, so you can see right there. Now, here's the NAM, which is overdoing things, I think, just a little bit in terms of how much rain is going to fall in the river valley, but it does have a pretty good idea, in my opinion, on where the bullseye is going to be. And you can see it extending from Leflore County all the way north towards Franklin, Sebastian, and Crawford County, east towards southern Newton County. Again, the rainfall totals, take them with a grain of salt. What we're looking for in our forecast is trends. And I think the trends are more towards the river valley in terms of flash flooding potential, or at least scattered flash floods like you saw on the Weather Prediction Center graphic we showed earlier. But again, all the models are showing rain. So obviously we've got like a 100% chance of showers and storms. I do think we are going to see rain in some form or fashion, but heavy rain potential looks more likely in the river valley. It is now 82 degrees in Colbert, Oklahoma, southwest of the Arkansas River Valley. Here comes the rain again, like Annie Lennox. You know what, Eric? I'm going to look that up, because honestly, I don't know who that is. I guess I'm showing my age right now. I was reminded of that in our editorial meeting earlier on today. But, Eric, I will say this, and I see this in your profile picture. I see Texas Rangers right there, and we get things rocking and rolling in a few hours. How do you feel about the Rangers' chances against the Tampa Bay Rays? It's going to be a tough wild card series, but I think the Rangers are going to get it done. I really do. I believe in this team. I think they have too much hitting to not win a couple games at least, and take this into the next round. So close to having a bye, but they just couldn't finish the deal against the Mariners the other day. Absolutely, Roby. We definitely need the rain. Of course, it's going to help the fall foliage out quite a bit. And we haven't even talked about the cool down yet, Roby. And we'll talk about that in just a minute, but I just want to make sure everybody's questions are answered in terms of the rainfall, because that is the most significant thing. Here comes the rain again, falling on my head like a memory. Great little quote right there, Jacob. And yeah, definitely going to be falling hot and heavy tomorrow. And we'll see what goes down. Again, the flash flooding potential is certainly there, especially in the Arkansas River Valley. Thankfully, the severe weather risk is very, very, very low. And I'll add one more very to that, very low, at least here in northwest Arkansas. But there's the excessive rainfall forecast one more time for you. Level 2 out of 4 slight risk, so scattered flash floods possible. And again, if there was 5 risk here, I don't want to be too confusing, but if there was like a 3 that was enhanced and then you went like the SPC, I would say there would be one centered over the river valley. I do think the main area for heavy rain is going to be along and south of this Interstate 40 corridor. But northwest Arkansas is included in that because of how much energy we have to work with this system. And I do buy what the Weather Prediction Center is putting down. I do think we're going to have to watch the flash flooding risk very closely, especially Wednesday during the overnight hours into early Thursday morning. So just make sure you're staying weather aware. Great time to have that Weather Authority app as well. You can, if you're watching on a computer, you can scan that QR code on your screen right now. You can also find that on the Google Play and Apple App Store. We'll continue to post updates of that. We'll get you covered. We'll get you through this event as more information comes in. But again, severe weather potential very low with this particular system. All right, Mitchell, great lead in to what we're talking about next, because we're talking about much cooler temperatures. And folks, this is going to be a big time drop. This is our first true fall cold front. This system means business. It's going to bring a ton of cold air to our area. And yes, I said cold air because the overnight lows are going to be potentially in the middle to upper 30s in portions of northwest Arkansas. Let's go ahead and take a look on why exactly that's going to go down. And you see us show this map sometimes, right? This is what we call a vorticity map. And this is showing the spin in the atmosphere. This is showing the little pieces of energy that swing off troughs, that swing off low pressure systems. And we're going to have a lot of energy that's moving through. But what you actually notice here is that we've got multiple pieces of energy swinging through that are very significant. And that second piece that moves in is going to be that reinforcing shot of cold air. So here's Wednesday morning. Now, remember, all the shower and storm activity, right, with the system is going to happen ahead of the vorticity axis, right? So if we go here and we look at this system, this is at 9 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday. All that shower and storm activity is happening out ahead of these pieces of energy. So this is where we're getting all the rain. This is where we're getting all the storms. Here comes the cold front pushing through during the overnight hours. Now, there's the first cold front right there. There's the first little piece of energy that pushed through that brought all the shower and storm development. That is going to move through and drop our temperatures a little bit as we move throughout your Wednesday to Thursday. But it's this second shot of energy that moves through Thursday evening into the overnight hours that's really going to bring that colder air south. And I mean, look at all that cold air sagging south behind that piece of energy. That means business right there. And this right here, folks, could bring temperatures in the upper 30s for overnight lows Friday night as well as Saturday night. I think both days have a good chance of doing that. And another reason why we're going to see much cooler air, not only do we have that second reinforcing shot, but that second shot of cold air that moves in is going to tank our dew points. So that allows us to drop into the lower 40s. That allows us to drop into the upper 30s. I mean, we're talking about very dry dew points. You might need your chapstick heading out and about throughout the weekend because it is going to be so dry here in Northwest Arkansas. In fact, if we look at the Muggy meter, which, by the way, is one of my favorite graphics, what a great name for a graphic. I mean, we are like below crisp. We're like extra crispy. We're like, you go to KFC and get that extra crispy chicken sandwich. I mean, it's overlapping with the day of the week on the dew point trend. So again, Friday night, Saturday night, those are the 2 days to watch for overnight lows in the 30s. Now, I know we might get a question in just a moment about frost potential. I don't think it's something that we're too concerned about yet because it could be a little bit windy, especially Friday night into Saturday because you need calmer winds. Saturday night would probably be the best chance for patchy, and I mean very patchy frost in Northwest Arkansas. It's not going to be widespread, but it might be a warning sign for things to come as we move throughout the rest of October. So just be aware that this is an evolving situation. The models keep trending down in terms of those temperatures, especially the NBM, which I think has a pretty good grasp on what the temperatures are going to be as we progress throughout the week. So just keep an eye on that. I'm going to be talking about that during the morning shows each day, that we're not going to see widespread frost, but patchy frost, especially in the lower lying areas of Northwest Arkansas, really can't be ruled out right now. Good question, Jacob. What are the models showing for Friday night and Saturday night lows? So I just talked about the NBM model, which is one that I personally really like for temperatures. Kind of shows a box and whisker plot in terms of what exactly could go down. It's got a pretty good idea on temperatures being in the upper 30s both Friday night and Saturday night with those low dew points. Now, the European and GFS, in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion interpreting things, is a little bit overdone in terms of the overnight lows. They've got lows in the 40s, lower to middle 40s, which, I mean, again, most locations will probably be that way, especially in the River Valley. But I think Drake Field is going to be in the upper 30s Friday night and Saturday. It just knowing past events, similar situations, looking at climatology, I do think we're going to see lows in the upper 30s in Fayetteville at Drake Field. Now, Benton County might not get to that point, but there will be spots that do, I think. So, again, this is why we're not saying this is going to be like some widespread frost, because it's not. It's not going to be that. But patchy frost, certainly a possibility. It's not a 0% chance. So if you've got plants outside, maybe protect them for the next couple of days on Friday and Saturday, especially Friday night and Saturday night. And then by the time we get to next week, you won't have to worry about that again. But it's just something to be aware of as we head towards the weekend. We turned off our air conditioning, opening the windows up after the cold air comes in. Nikita, I'm going to do the same exact thing. There's nothing better than that first shot of fall air. And I'm telling you what, guys, this weekend, is going to feel amazing. Now, I know some folks maybe don't think that these temperatures are amazing, but others, you've been waiting for this for a long time. And here's the thing about Saturday, guys. I think there's the potential for high temperatures to be in the 50s in some spot. I really do think there's a chance of that. Overnight lows again in the upper 30s. I've got 38 degrees for Saturday night at Drake Field. I've got highs in the middle 60s on Sunday. Now there will be a bit of a warming trend as we go into next week. However, I do not think it's going to be a big time warming trend like we saw this week, or at least during the early part of this week and into the weekend. I don't think we're going to see temperatures in the upper 80s to right around 90 degrees next week, but I do think we'll see temps in the middle to upper 70s, which is exactly where we should be for this time of year. We're supposed to be at 76 degrees. Overnight lows are supposed to be at 50. We're going to be well below that for a few days this weekend. We certainly deserve that after all the hot weather we've experienced. And then as we go into next week, we'll start getting more towards climatology with abundant sunshine expected. Heather, how about tips for the football games Friday night? Great question, Heather. So as you can see right there, we've got highs in the upper 60s. Now, here's the thing. You're going to want to bring that jacket to the game Friday night because the winds are still going to be pretty breezy on Friday out of the north at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusts up to 25 miles per hour. So I would bring that jacket to the game. Temperatures will be falling pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised by post game Friday night. We're in the lower 50s, upper 40s in a lot of locations in Northwest Arkansas. So definitely make sure you're bringing the jacket. And I really appreciate the kind words as well on there. Definitely love doing this, and it's gonna be a great weekend, guys. I am so excited for these cooler temperatures. I can't wait to get out there and run again outside and just be able to enjoy it with low humidity and cool weather. Me personally, I like it nice and cold on my runs. It just heats things up. Things feel better. And those are temperatures that make you want to go trick or treat because it's certainly going to be feeling like Halloween in Northwest Arkansas. Now, River Valley, temperatures a little bit warmer, but still, we get in on the action as well. Highs are going to be in the middle 70s on Friday, lower 70s on Sunday, maybe even the middle to upper 60s on Saturday, with overnight lows generally in the middle to upper 40s. So you're going to want to have that jacket as you're heading off to the bus stop Monday morning, especially in Northwest Arkansas, but also in the River Valley with those low temperatures in the upper 40s. All right, folks. I think that's good. If anybody has any more questions, I'll leave this up for the next minute or two. One more time, we're going to go through very quickly the latest information on tomorrow with the heavy rain threat because that is the most pressing matter right now. We do have that level 2 out of 4 slight risk for excessive rainfall located over the entire KNWA Fox 24 coverage area. Again, areas along and south of Interstate 40 are going to have the best chance to see significant rainfall. We time things out on future track here. You can see those showers beginning to develop during the early morning hours Wednesday. Again, I think the morning commute's going to be relatively fine, but watch out for slick roadways as that initial shot of rain mixes in with the oil on the roads. Just make sure you're aware of that. Things really start to crank up right around lunchtime, especially in Northwest Arkansas. That radar begins to fill in. Very heavy rain expected during the overnight hours Wednesday. Of course, this model's underdoing things a little bit, but that heavy rain threat could continue through early Thursday morning before that system swings off to the east, and we see nice and dry weather for Thursday afternoon. Rebecca has a question. How's the weather in Branson Friday night, Saturday morning, please? Rebecca, I'll see you in Branson, by the way, because I'm going to go to Silver Dollar City this weekend. Second of all, Friday night and Saturday morning, very chilly, Rebecca. Make sure you got that jacket on. I think things are going to be dry. Things are going to be nice. You don't have to worry about any precipitation, but make sure you're packing accordingly for cold weather because it will be quite cold in Branson. Temperatures could be in the upper 30s Friday night and Saturday morning. Also, obviously, going to be very cold. Saturday during the day, you might want to hold on to that jacket as well with high temperatures in the upper 50s to lower 60s. So, good question right there. Have fun in Branson. It's going to feel great at the Harvest Festival. I cannot wait to get back out there and try some more food at Silver Dollar City. And I hope everybody has a safe and happy rest of the week. We'll probably do another Weather Live tomorrow if there's any rain going on here in Northwest Arkansas. But just appreciate everybody coming out and joining early this morning. I'm sure Dan, Peyton, and Zach are going to be all over things again later on tonight. Wouldn't be surprised if we had another Weather Live stream there with the latest updates. Of course, download that Weather Authority app. You can find it on the Google Play and Apple App Store. You know what? One more time, just in case you're watching on the computer, I'll pull it up on the screen here. That way you can get the latest updates just in case we do have some flash flood warnings. just in case we do have very heavy rainfall. We'll post updates of that. But otherwise, hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe out there, everybody, and God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.